Nah, I got something to prove and I ain't never gonna give up. Plenty of juice and I ain't never gonna waste it. Something to do and I ain't never wanna quit it. So come on, get a little bit, I know you wanna play with it.
Coming to you from Studio Iguana Monk down in the Big Dirty, it's the Twisted Pop Podcast, where we explore what it means to be a working artist living in the real world. Please welcome your hosts, Larry Lines and Troy Wingstop.
All right, this is the Twisted Pop Podcast, episode 23.
This will be 23.
This is 23.
Maybe I'll do some more talking head, like logogram stuff that the other place.
You say talking heads. I know you're talking about the logogram stuff, but you've been whistling Psycho Killer like since I saw you today. You're like,
it's because I'm interested in these little talking heads. Like, they look like little talking heads to me. They're like little logograms based off of Mayan art, and I've used them a couple of times now for the place cards, and they're just something that I doodle with like over and over.
So you have a couple of sets of things that you've been using for the place cards.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just whatever floats my fancy, but the most consistent thing now I think has been maybe these logogram things.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else.
Huh.
There was some comic booky stuff.
Yeah, there was actually, that's right, there's a thing that you do that's like, it's like the Fantastic Four, the lava guy.
Yeah, all that kind of crazy.
Yeah. It's not that guy. What is his name, by the way? I can't, because you have a painting that has him in it, but there's a bunch of others.
Stretch Off.
Yeah, something like that.
Whatever his name is.
I can't remember.
I don't have any names for any of these characters that I come up with. It's just, artwork that I did back when I was doing comic book stuff, and it's all kind of comic booky. But I did also some stuff that I call like old lady tea party stuff.
Oh,
like things that you would see at a ladies' tea party. Every once in a while, it's all scrolly flower.
This is the $100,000
yeah,
pyramid.
it's all scrolly
things
flowers.
that you would see at an old ladies' tea party.
Troy's heart. It's all scrolly, flowery, hoobly hoo.
Oh, that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And like, then I'm trying to combine
Rose Point.
Yeah.
Silverware.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then I think for Rebecca Oxley's, I did a combination of kind of an engraving and remember the props that we did for the movie? We had a Diary of a Madman.
Yeah.
I used some of the pages of those.
Oh man, now I know where that stuff is coming from.
Yeah,
it's like there's documents in there. Yeah.
Yeah. I put all those pages together because we had to have something that the camera could see that people were flipping through, and it was just like the Diary of a Madman, which was all basically like Aleister Crowley's poetry and witchy spells. And I put them next to gargoyles and like, all this kind of like, kind of pop arty kind of stuff also that I had laying around in databases and stuff. People ask for like that kind of stuff all the time. So it's kind of a combination of like Aleister Crowley spells and like engravings of gargoyles and hands and body parts and kissy lips and hearts.
What? So then when you're doing a place card, you just sort of mix and match a bunch of stuff from all.
Well, I kind of, if I know what's coming. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I kind of.
You kind of have an idea of something that you'll have.
Right. Like when we did Visions, I did I did a sketch of like Lincoln's eye.
Oh man.
On a $5 bill.
Yeah.
And then I made it like a black eye.
Huh.
Because it's all bruised. And blood, like how the blood shot when you break blood vessels in your eye and it turns all that crazy red and yellow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good one. I know exactly what it looks like because when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's cool.
I've got tons and tons of it, and it never ends.
Never ends.
Yeah.
So it's been a couple weeks since we've done a episode, really.
Yeah.
One is that I've been busy getting projects going, doing other stuff. And then the Astros won the World Series.
Yeah.
And that was kind of distracting.
Well, yeah, for the whole city.
Yeah, the whole city sort of shut down. It was almost like, toward the end of them playing the Yankees. So it was like 2 weeks. It was almost like Harvey itself didn't last as long as the shutdown from the Astros.
Yankees? I thought they played the Dodgers.
No, they played the Yankees, then they played the Dodgers. So it was like 2 series.
I don't follow baseball at all.
I know, but the city did because the city shut down.
Obviously, I had to know some of it because nobody would. Every drunk person roaming the street.
Astros! My entire Facebook feed, including stuff I put there myself because I watched a lot of it. It was pretty cool. Oh man, I was excited about it. So was Lucy. This is my daughter. So, but when they said they shut down the school on Friday and said 750,000 people were going to the parade, I was like, no.
Yeah.
And then they said that over 1 million people showed up.
It's crazy.
No, I that's a big no for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do
I've
that.
seen pictures of like people like standing in parking garages, like 8 deep.
Yeah. Anyway, that's I would say it wasn't the Astros that did it, but it's like you had a bunch of stuff going on, I had stuff going on. We wouldn't have had an episode 22 without Aaron Trum.
No.
Because there's just too many things. You have this big project that you've been doing like all night long, every night this week.
Yeah, it was a huge, crazy project.
And then I went to Plano for a couple weeks, and everybody knows how much I love Plano.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
You've blogged about it quite a bit.
Yeah.
I wish you'd shut up about Plano.
Fucking Plano. Anyway, we're going to go into I Hate Art.
Mm.
Woo!
Because I hate it.
I hate art. Art is stupid. Art is boring. ARTT art.
Like, she should take over.
Yeah. I mean, what a perfect person is sort of. Anyway.
No, you're absolutely right. What a perfect person to take it over.
Yeah. Who sort of dealt with the stereotypes up front. Like
Viva la Reese
Witherspoon. Take over.
Take it.
She should just go take the job from Weinstein.
Totally.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And then for a while, it's funny too because you can feel the onslaught of it's anything starring a woman now for the next 10 years. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Just give me a bunch of media run by women for the next 10 years. What the fuck? After the Weinstein story, if you can still cough up that tired fucking that tired argument against affirmative action.
I hope she does do it. We'll get completely different stories.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which is about time. So what have you been watching this week?
I watched a bunch of shit this week. I actually, over the last couple of weeks while I was really busy, I kind of, rather than going straight to the Joan Didion one, because that's the last thing I watched last night, but I watched Tin Star with Tim Roth. That's a fucked up miniseries on Amazon. I mean, it is seriously fucked up.
Really?
Yeah, at some point about halfway through, you're like, should I really do this to myself? It's about 10 hours long, it's like, 10 episodes.
Yeah.
And it's like they go from... If I were to use an analogy, they go from Breaking Bad's, like, I'm a teacher, to I'm a fucked up guy murdering people in a basement.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they do it in, 3 episodes. Right? Like, all that transition that was really subtle, it took place over a long period of time. Tim Roth just turns into a complete animal in, 3 episodes. He's so messed up. And then at the end of it, I feel like the writing was just like they went, all right, we'll kill both of them. They're like, oh, neither one of these characters is redeemable. Just kill them.
Wow.
Yeah. But then I watched The Arrival, which I thought was really cool. And people had said to watch that for a while, and I never did. And that's all about language and misunderstanding. And if you knew what was going to happen about your failures, would you try them anyway? That kind of shit.
Yeah.
That was really cool. That was a really, interesting way to do a science fiction sort of psychodrama, like that Russian one. What was that? Or 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, you're exploring, your own grief. That's kind of what the whole thing is about. But then I watched the Joan Didion documentary on Netflix last night.
Oh, yeah.
I've always been a Joan Didion fan, but man, that fucking documentary is awesome, and she is so weird. I've never seen her speak, just seen pictures of her, and I knew that she started out writing for Vogue, and so she's going to be sort of bizarre 60s fashion,
right?
But man, she is so weird. And it's so awesome to see somebody like that, because there aren't very many people like this, anymore. Like it's funny too, because it sort of reminded me of Mark Thorgerson.
Oh yeah.
Like, you talk to Mark and you go, that's a weird dude. Like, not in a bad way. It's just like, it's very unique.
Yeah.
And that was kind of how, like, you sort of get the clue on somebody like Joan Didion. But then you start wondering if there's a place like that for people like that now, or have we just sort of bled out?
The Eccentrics.
Yeah. I don't know. And we've sort of not made a place for them anymore. They're not there.
Wow. We have to go digging them up.
I think that it would be great to have them again, but I feel also this is all stuff. I thought I knew what I was going to talk about, but now I'm talking about it, and now it's getting me going down all these other paths with it, which is how generic have I become, right? Even with as much as I know about this and trying not to,
right?
My approach to media, art, and music for a very long time has been what's commercially viable.
Right.
And it's such a bullshit way of doing anything. And I complain about that, like that you're, you have to figure out what's commercially viable, but you really don't.
No.
You don't really have to do that at all.
No.
You could focus on just what's interesting to you.
Right.
We all like making money. Like, I want to make money.
Yeah.
I totally understand that. But most of the people I admire were doing things because they really liked them. Like, they just did it really well. And they were eccentrics. And they were unique spirits in the world. And they found a way to survive in the same commercial structure that's always been there.
Right.
But now, with social media, we're just being sold like so much of this is the way you do it. Like, this is, buy this Facebook ad, build your audience, right?
Yeah.
So watching somebody like Joan Didion, and I go, are there people like this?
Like the modern age is destroying the Eccentrics. Yeah, that's if that's not a book title for you.
Yeah, no shit.
I don't know what is.
And, we even think about it in other ways too, right? Like, she was like really, she lived in Malibu, and when we think of Malibu now, we think of like it's just packed with fucking money, and the houses there's a lot of houses up there. But with the period of time that they're focusing on, there was nobody there.
Yeah.
And so she was just sort of isolated out there. And if you think about the time, if you didn't pick up the phone or leave your house, you were just there with your own thoughts.
Right.
I mean, in our lifetime, right? Like this, what did we do when we were kids? Just like you walk around, like the Arcade Fire's description of it. Yeah. It's like, I was describing this to my kids after I took them to a party at a roller rink. I was like, the difference between now and the 80s is that I would have just dropped you off.
Right.
And if you weren't outside at 9:15, then I would have just driven away, and then you would have found a way home.
Right. That's totally the difference.
and then when I was like describing some of the things that we used to do, because we always describe the things that were really cool about it.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things that we used to do as teenagers were like, all right, we're wandering down the street.
Yeah.
Let's go see if Steve's home.
Right.
And you go, oh, let's use my cell phone and call him.
Right.
No. You weren't going to waste a quarter
Right.
trying to call Steve,
Right.
see if he was home. You just go to his house.
Right. He might not have picked up the phone even if he was home. You just go over to Steve's house.
And it'd be like a couple miles away,
Right.
like of walking.
Right.
Anyway, the idea is that we've bridged a lot of things. I think there's a lot of really cool things about it, but there also is a lot of very similar experience. Like everybody's having a very similar experience. And maybe we were actually having similar experiences to our peers at the time.
Yeah.
But we didn't find out until 10 years later.
Right. Right. Because the information wasn't there quick enough.
Yeah, it wasn't like I'm walking down the street to go see Steve. Right. It wasn't a social media post.
Well, I watched this interview with Peter Reardon. I reposted it on my Facebook. I don't know if we'll put a link up or what, but like
I'll put a link up.
This idea of like mysticism and mystery in your life and being able to solve these mysteries. It leans heavy in religion. But it's an interesting conversation for people who can, rise above like just the fundamentals of religion, right? It's an interesting interview.
Well, I mean, that's the same idea, right? I mean, it's type you're having a unique mystical experience.
Yeah.
And then, now it's so easy to find that information that other people's experiences sort of influence yours a lot easier.
Yeah, he's very articulate in like how he chooses his words to like explain a lot of it, and
to go back a step, Peter Reardon is he was the singer for Blind Ignorance, right?
Blind Ignorance. Before that, Crowd Control. He worked at Sugar Hill. He developed some engineering equipment that's supposedly engineers like rave about like over and over. Or he's instrumental in like the rap world.
Yeah, in Houston. Yeah.
Well,
all this is here in Houston, so he was like a punk icon for the '80s. He was one of the local punk scenes.
Super creative, super intelligent, like really articulate in anything that he's ever done. So I figured like this dude, no matter what he would have done, he would have been successful at anything. And
he was really eccentric.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, totally.
Like he was out there to begin with.
Speaking of eccentric.
Yeah.
I thought that would work.
Yeah, I mean that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's anyway, go on about the interview.
You just kind of have to watch it. I have to watch it again. There's a lot of information there that like that's really it's fascinating, like the way he breaks it down.
And it's mainly he's talking about like a Christian mysticism.
Yeah, like Gnostic, like Christian mysticism, and we just connected back on Facebook, so I've just been kind of like peripheral, like on Facebook, because you don't really have that relationship, like in that alienation of the technology, right?
Yeah, that's funny. We're just talking about like the shared experience and sort of making it generic, but there are some people, even like the Eccentrics come on, then you're like, I still don't know what's going on,
right? I'm still baffled. But yeah, we'll have to put a link up. It's a good interview. But anyway, what you were saying
about what?
Who knows?
Well, I mean, some of it, what somebody said that keeps coming out, even when you're talking about Peter Reardon, is that Joan Didion did something with the essay that no one else has done before, which is that she was talking about history as it was happening, like even in your own personal life, right? Like she's talking about it like it's already history, and she's giving her perspective on Haight-Ashbury or whatever she happened to be in the middle of at the time. And I think in terms of things that have been lost or things that we're not doing, everybody's trying to do everything as a journalist. like when you're even having a debate online, you're trying to say, here's a fact and there's a fact, and because we're smart people, this is where you should end up with this conclusion.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people, even in journalism or citizen journalism, they already have a conclusion. You know,
and they're just finding the facts,
yeah.
the cherry picking facts to fucking to put it together.
That's what I was looking for, cherry picking.
Yeah, and that's and
you know you can make money off of that. I mean, a lot of people do, but it doesn't make it true.
And it doesn't really accomplish anything. So if you're not making money, why are you doing it?
Right.
And that's kind of where I think of the eccentrics fit in, because the eccentrics sort of have this perspective. You come into a situation and you go, you have a particular point of view, so I'm not even going to listen to what you're trying to convince me of. I'm just going to go with my own impressions of the moment, right? And that was what I picked up the most out of this, and especially reading Joan Didion's Slouching Toward Bethlehem, which anybody should read because it's so good, because she's reporting about Haight-Ashbury to the world through magazines, but then she's writing these essays that end up in Slouching Toward Bethlehem, where she's reporting on what's actually, like, her impressions of the time. Like, here's the interview in the New York Times or whatever that she did for the leaders and that, you know, of the demonstrations that were going on, and then here's her essay talking about like the personal stories and her impressions of people doing too many drugs while they're 19 years old or 16-year-old runaways in the middle of all these demonstrations that everybody is ignoring over the political message. And it's the same thing is happening now, right? I'm not saying that we have a bunch of runaways in the middle of like Antifa or something like that, but there's a whole lot of personal crisis, like in the middle of all this other shit.
Yeah.
And we don't have any of the eccentrics left. Like, and maybe they don't have the same voice, or we're not listening in the same way, or maybe we're just not eccentric enough ourselves. Like, I have a lot of stories about eccentrics that we know, right? And but I don't know. It seems like we're trying to escape our eccentricism. Like we're trying to go, oh man, I want to turn my art into a legitimate, like I'm legit, and here it is. I've made my mark. But you know, even like our conversations in these episodes and things that we talk about, we should really throw that all out the window. Like if there are 100 people in your licensing class, you know, and that licensing class is done 4 times a month, then you know, what are we talking about?
No, I think that's right. We started to touch on this like when we were shooting movies. Was that, you know, there wasn't, and the theme that we're going on about, like
I know exactly the conversation you're talking about.
That, there's not enough like eccentric or like esoteric or like even like occult like symbolism, like enough to like, because people need that magic, and maybe that's, you know, like that magic, being able to just pull it up on a screen and connect magically, you know, and find out that somebody's having a birthday party over there. As opposed to having to go over to Steve's house and he's already at the birthday party.
How many times have I said happy birthday to people that I didn't know their birthdays until like 10 years ago, or maybe 5 years ago.
And I think that's a perfect thing to like, you know, to delve into and like try to rediscover, is like that kind of like magic. Or mysticism or mystery.
And that's what I really got out of this documentary with Joan Didion, is this the magic of her, like just every moment, like that she's just like, I'm sitting here talking about what I think, and really, so how much with social media, how much do I censor what I think already,
or be that's fed to us on like
but how many times do you start thinking of a response to something and then go, I'm not doing that. That's going to be the rest of my day.
No. I like every day.
Every day.
Every day, and I just like edit everything. I just like don't address anything unless it's happy birthday.
Or what if you treated every thought happy birthday? That's right, happy birthday. And then, you know, there are a lot of things that like threads that I will throw something onto that it's like, oh wow, that's really cool.
Right.
And then it's something that is really cool. So the other 800 people on that person's friends list start commenting, and then I go find that turn off notifications thing so I don't see any more of them.
Right.
And I hate that I do that too, right? Like you're in the middle of that. And what if we did something like an essayist from the 60s or 70s would do, which is you throw your thoughts out on a piece of paper and then you throw it into the black hole.
Yeah.
You probably don't even ever see it in print.
Right.
You're never going to know what anybody thinks about it.
Right.
And you throw so many of your things out there like that and stop paying attention to the feedback that you actually turn into an eccentric.
No, that it's easy. I was thinking when we were talking about this, like, that it may be easy to rediscover.
That's true. And we did hit on some of that in the filming of the movie, in that production, because I kept hitting on things that was like, I don't know if I should go down that road. And like I'm going to sell a fucking movie. Like, like I'm trying to censor things like up front about, my content.
You got that?
Yeah, I got it restarted finally. So I'm trying to censor things about content, and nobody knows who the fuck I am. Like, you're the only way that. Anyway, it doesn't even matter.
No, I get where you're going with that.
I mean, it's like, oh man, there's like sort of a metaphor here, like about, if nobody's gonna hear anything I say, right? Then why would I censor what I'm saying? Right? Like it's like if you're just constantly in this, I'm gonna censor it so it's generic enough not to offend anybody. Now you're not even funny.
Yeah.
Now you aren't funny anymore.
Well, I mean, maybe it's like an interesting experiment with that. Like, even as a creative intellectual, like somebody did an experiment around that. Like they found out they were being investigated by some intelligence agency, and then so they made all of their life public.
Now that's funny.
Just every single aspect of,
Here's my porn history.
Right. Every aspect of it. And then, oh man, I had one other point there on that. It's like an old hillbilly proverb. If everybody in the village knows your secret, no secret.
Yeah.
So instead of like having to censor yourself, you just throw it out there, and like everybody knows you're garbage.
Years ago, I people would say, "You're not free until you can put your darkest secret on a billboard."
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know about that either. I never went and bought that billboard.
Chicken fucking story fucking go out, or
well, it's out now.
Or my bad touch uncle in the game closet story.
Oh, everybody's got one of those.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Everybody does, but I don't know if it's helpful. Outside of a therapeutic setting, I mean, like.
Yeah, there's eccentricity and then just shit for shock value, right?
Totally.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Joan Didion didn't write any essays about her toilet habits or anything like that. Today I took a shit.
Right.
I tried wiping sideways.
It didn't work that well. I'm trying diagonal tomorrow. Yeah, like, but it also like reminds me of a conversation that we had about like things that we've done in the past that we're embarrassed about.
Yeah,
like
they almost
art,
mean
the music,
nothing.
and like that's just. Oh my god, that's so embarrassing. No one can ever listen to that or hear that or whatever. And then just publishing all of that crap.
Now that's funny.
See, that would be crazy, crazy stuff.
Oh man, there are songs that I can still play that I haven't played in 25 years. And there are some people that know the songs I'm talking about. I do not want to ever play them again. But it would be funny if I recorded them and threw them out there.
I have a pink paper like series that I did with a black ballpoint pen, where I went through all the family albums and found every single embarrassing photo of myself. Like, it started like a whole summer of just drawing those pictures, and even pushing the limit of like drawing me naked in all of those too. It's just so weird and so crazy that like they should just be published all over the place. Some crazy crap like that. I'm not even talking about the bad.
No, that's just sort of a caricature of like documented family photos and stuff like that.
Or publishing every 6th grade like piece of artwork trash that my dad kept.
Oh my God.
And hung on his wall.
Or just opening that trunk that I've been lugging around for 20 years.
They just publish it.
Oh man, because there's a bunch of shit in there. There's notebooks full of like, man, self-pitying shit that I thought was brilliant while it was coming out of my pen.
Yeah.
And then fucking music. I've got a lot of music in there too. You know,
funny stuff.
it's like if you rather than trying to get yourself to a commercially viable, you were just to go the opposite direction. Let's see how uncommercially viable we can be. Like, anyway.
Well, that sounds like an episode.
Thank you for listening to the Twisted Pop Podcast. For show notes, go to twistedpop.com/podcast. Merchandise at bigmyth.com. That's big-myth.com. In association with nquit.com. Until next time, this is the Twisted Pop